Hello everybody, it's Peter Nelman from Halifax, Nova Scotia. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how I deburr a knife, and I want to talk a little bit about what a burr and wire edge and the difference, and if there is a difference. Because there seems to be a little bit of confusion out there, and that's normal. It's a gray area, I believe, but it's not critical that we have to completely understand it, but I just want to talk about it a bit. And you've seen videos on how I sharpen before, so so this one's more on how I deburr. But the way I deburr, it's a process that's unfolding all the time as I sharpen. So anyway, the burr, as you know, it forms as we sharpen. We bring the knife over this flat water stone, and yes, it's flat. Keep your stones flat. I think we're over the flattening thing, but if anyone ever tells you that the stones don't have to be flat, ask them why, and then just know that everything they say after that will be wrong. So keep them flat. So anyway, we're going to form a burr on this knife, and I'm going to demonstrate how I sharpen again. And I'm going to sharpen starting at this front of this knife. It's a Santoku, just a customer's knife that I've never sharpened before, and I'm using this Nanohone 200 grit stone. And here we go. So. So if you remember I found my angle, I can just use your pinky to find an angle in there, which is grind, and now that should have a burr form, and it does. There's a burr on this knife. So the burr forms, the difference between a burr and a wire edge. A burr is something that can form within seconds. It happens, it's an event that happens is in the beginning of the knife sharpening process. Okay, and it's metal that if you think of a waterfall, or a friend of mine once said an avalanche of steel coming down the side of this knife, created by the abrasive powers of the stone. It doesn't fall off, it flips over the other side, as we know, and we now have a burr, which forms on the side of the knife, off the apex. And once we have a burr on one side, we form it on the other. Yes, so now I have a burr running from heel to tip on the other side of the knife. So that's burr formation. I've detected the burr, and now I'm going to remove the burr. So how do I do that? All I do is, and this is a question I saw on an internet once, on a sharpening forum or something, that when do you start the burr removal process? And some folks leave it to the later stages of the sharpening using finer grit stones. I don't. I do it right away. I start on the first stone I use, which is always a coarse stone, and all I do is reduce pressure by about 50%. So it's the same process, same sharpening process, but it's a great reduction in pressure. So my goal now is to shave this burr off, and I'm still using edge trailing strokes. And I just move from the front of the knife, the tip, to the heel, and I flip the knife over. Remember, what I'm doing now is removing the burr as best as I can, as best as my skills allow. So I'll do that again, even another reduction in pressure. And one more time with this dropping motion. So I should, the burr should be, I can no longer feel a burr. The knife is getting quite sharp now. So at this stage, I go another step. I take this is a suede, you can use felt or suede or leather as a strop, and I'm just going to do a couple stropping motions. Same angle, light pressure, up and down, 3 times. Doesn't matter how many times you do it. And then I'll go back to the stone again with very light pressure. And I'll now use a leather strop and finish off the work on the coarse stone. So this is how I deburr, and I do this on every stone. So I now check the edge under a light for any glints, any hint of light. Okay? And by now the knife is very sharp, and I don't have to demonstrate that. This isn't about how I sharpen a knife, it's about how I deburr. But I guarantee you it's sharp, very sharp now. It's inevitable, it has to be sharp. We formed the burr and we started the removal process. Now it's a signal for me to switch stones because I don't see any light. And there's another difference between the burr and a wire edge. If there was any light, any metal that I had yet to remove, I would be able to see it underneath. It would reflect off the light by a little glint. And then if I saw that, I don't see any now, but if I did see it, I would go back to that stone and concentrate on that area until there was no light at all. Once I see no light at all, it means it's my signal to switch to another stone. And from here, I'll go to the 1000 grit stone. And I'm simply going to repeat this process. Okay, now I'm going to form another burr. It's a micro, the tiniest burr I can possibly form. So I'm going to go back to a little bit of pressure here. I want to make sure that I'm hitting the edge of the edge. And I'm just going to go up, down a couple times. Same angle, a little bit of pressure. I can feel a burr. And now I'm going to remove it. So now I'm going to form another burr on the other side. So now I have a burr, yes, a very small, subtle burr, which is what you want, on the other side. Now I know that I've reached the edge of the edge. Now again, I go back to the burr removal process, the deburring process. So again, same thing, but at least 50% reduction in pressure. I'm cleaning the edge. That's the most important part of sharpening. Clean this edge. Another time, another reduction in pressure. Nice and light. I'm very focused on what I'm doing. That metal doesn't want to leave the mothership. So you've got to force it. You've got to persuade it to leave. Okay, so now back onto the suede or felt or even leather, that's fine. And a nice light stropping. I don't know if how that light is there. Then back on the 1000 grit stone, just for a couple quick passes, just to really clean this edge. Another strop. Nice and light. Okay. I don't have to look at this edge on the light anymore. I know there isn't any. I did that on the first on the coarse stone, and I know now this knife is ready. I could stop the process right now. But just for the sake of this video, I'll go, let's say, to go to 3000 grit. But this is very light. And again, form a tiny burr. This is something new in my process I learned from a sharpener much better than I am, much smarter than I am. It's a tiny little burr. There. Now I'm going to remove it again. So we form a primary burr. We form micro burrs, or don't have to form a burr. It's going to happen anyway, I believe, if you're using whetstones. You just may not feel it. It's hard to detect. They're very tiny. Okay, so now I could use right now in the deburring process, I can use this leather strop if I want. Not a lot of people don't have strops or don't have different ones, so all you've got is a leather strop. Just why not use that? I prefer to use a strop over a fine stone. Now, I'm finishing it up. So, now we have to talk about a wire edge. So now the knife is done. Okay, this knife is ready to return sharper than new, all that good stuff. So the wire edge is different in that it's a product that it's a actual wire edge that hangs below the primary edge, directly below the primary edge, and it forms as a result of, well, not if I didn't remove this burr properly, if my actions resulted in me forcing this strip of metal, a wire edge, wire, to form, hang directly below the primary edge, below the apex. So that's why, to get rid of that, that's why you'll see folks running a knife over the edge of a cork or a piece of wood to do something to clear that, and then they'll go over it, or even a stone or a fine grit stone to remove that wire edge. You have to remove it. So that remember, the wire edge, if it forms, is something that forms at the end of the process. You also cannot see it under a light. And another difference is, a burr is something that we strive to create. It's something that we need at the beginning of the process. Yeah, I know, there are people who we don't need to actually form a burr, blah, blah, blah. That's true. But we're talking about folks just learning here. We strive to form a wire edge. We strive to form a burr. We strive to avoid a wire edge. A wire edge is never a good thing. We do never want a wire edge, but it happens sometimes. So, but in the process I use, and listen, it just seems that there is no wire edge because I'm constantly shaving off the burr as I move along. So I don't have to worry about a wire edge. But if you do, and that's taken years to learn how to do that. So anyway, that's my difference between a burr and a wire edge and how I deburr. And as always, I hope you get something out of it, and I appreciate you watching. Bye-bye.